Okay, we've looked at a couple of annotations so far. We've seen the required annotation and we've seen the auto-wired annotation. In this tutorial, we're going to look at some of the JSR 250 annotations. JSR 250 is actually it's a standard, the Java specification request, that defines all the standard annotations that would apply across different technology and different frameworks. Spring supports some of the standard JSR 250 annotations. We're going to look at some of them in this tutorial. The first annotation that we're going to look at is the @resource annotation. So let me remove this couple of annotations that we've added in the earlier tutorial. So @resource is another annotation that we can use to inject dependencies into a member variables of a class. Now here I have the center member variable of the circle class, and I have 3 point objects, point A, point B, and point C. Now let's say I want to add point C dependency to the center. Now the other two beans are not going to be used. I'm just going to use the point C bean to inject dependency into my circle class. So what I can do is I can use the @resource annotation. Now this @resource annotation is going to be from Java XOR annotation, because note, this is a Java specification request JSR standard. So this is going to be from Java XOR annotation. This is not specific to Spring. Now this @resource annotation can do a dependency injection by name, a standard dependency injection by name. So all I need to do is, in order to inject point C to this center member variable, I just need to say name equals point C. It's as simple as that. So it's actually doing injection by names. It's going to look for a bean which has the name as point C, and it's going to inject that. So I'm not specifying the dependency here. I'm specifying this not using auto-wired, by using @resource. @resource is a JSR 250 annotation. So it's from Java XOR annotation.resource. So this is the annotation that I'm using here, and it's going to just pick it up by name. Now let me save and run this to make sure it picks up point C. There you go. It's picked up 20, which is point C. Now there are a few intelligent defaults that this @resource goes for. Now if I do not specify the name, what this is going to do is it's going to look for a bean with the same name as the member variable itself. Now if I define this as center, I'll save this and I'll save this, it's going to pick that up because it has the same name as the member variable itself. I have not defined a name, so by default it goes for the name of the member variable itself. Now let's run this. Oops, there is an error. This is because point C is used in triangles. You have a dependency to point C, and I went ahead and changed this, so that's the reason why. Let me just comment this for now so that there's no error. So if I run this again, there you go. It's picked up the bean which has the same name as the member variable itself. So resource is the way in which we can use annotations to do dependency injection by name. So you can specify the name and then add the bean as a dependency, or if you do not specify the name property here, it just takes the name of the member variable itself. That way it's similar to auto-wired by name, and it picks up the bean with the name as the member variable. Okay, so resource is one of the several annotations that comes with JSR 250. I'm going to show you a couple of other annotations which is related to the init and destroy of the life cycle. Earlier, we used the init method and the destroy method. We use a couple of ways in which we can run methods when the bean is being initialized and when the bean is about to be destroyed. So we can do the same thing using annotations also. So now let's say I have an init method here. Let's call it initialize. Let me give it a specific name, initialize circle. Okay, so I'm not having any naming convention for the method itself. So I will use a system dot out dot println init of circle. Okay, so I want this method to be called when this circle bean itself is being initialized, and I will have a similar method for destroying. Destroy circle, and then print for destroy of circle. So if I were configuring this using XML, what I would do is I would have an init method and destroy method for the circle definition, or I would have to implement the initializing bean and disposable bean interfaces and specify the right name for the method. Now here I have a custom method name, and I'm not even entering the configuration in the XML. I can use the annotations for the initializing and destroying the bean so that these methods get called. So the annotations are at post construct and at pre-destroy. So again, the names are self-explanatory. This is something that gets executed after the bean has been initialized, and this is something that gets executed just before the bean is destroyed. Now notice that the imports are again from javax.annotations because these are JSR 250 annotations. Now this is all it takes to execute this method when the bean is about to be initialized, and this when the bean is about to be destroyed. Now let me save and run this. There you go, the init is done, and drawing of circle. Of course, the destroy is not happening here because I've not registered the shutdown hook. So let me quickly do that as well. Abstract application context. And context dot register shutdown hook. And that's it. Now we should see the destruction call as well. Well, there you go. Destroy has happened. So to summarize, we've learned 3 new annotations. At resource, which lets us specify a bean by name, which has to be injected to this member variable of ours. We have a post construct and a pre-destroy, which allows us to specify initialization and destruction methods for our beans. And all these 3 annotations are from the JSR 250 standard.